There we go. We're live. Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey. We are the Markout Movie Podcasters, and on today's episode, we are reviewing Brats, the documentary on Hulu.
Brat, documentary by Andrew McCarthy, who wants everyone to know he is a member of the Brat Pack. Let me see. I'm gonna try to play a clip, see if it works. Here we go. Nope, it didn't take. All right, maybe not. Oh, it didn't work. Never mind. I was gonna play a clip from the documentary, like the trailer, so you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But Brat is a documentary that's on Hulu, as Brandon was saying, directed by Andrew McCarthy, who was in the Brat Pack, but I would argue and say wasn't the most recognizable members of the Brat Pack.
I mean, the most recognizable is Emilio, I think.
Yeah, Emilio, and then Deming, and then Molly.
Molly, I would say Rob Lowe. And for whatever reason,
Judd Nelson
was not even mentioned. Yeah, Judd Nelson. But for whatever reason, he was not even mentioned. It was Anthony Michael Hall. I don't understand how you don't mention him, because he was in like literally almost every single one of those Brat Pack movies, and he's more recognizable to me than Andrew. I like Andrew, but I mainly just remember him from Weekend at Bernie's.
That's what I was going to get to. So I would argue and say that there is another subcategory of the Brat Pack, which is, I'm going to dub them the Hughes crew, and it was literally folks that John Hughes had in his movies: Molly Ringwald, John Cusack, Anthony Michael Hall. I'm trying to think of others. Molly Shane, not Molly Shane, but Ali Sheedy is another one they used. So he had that own little crew, and I think I like them more than I would argue that I like the Brat Pack, people that's in the Brat Pack. So first of all, they didn't dub themselves the Brat Pack. A journalist dubbed them the Brat Pack.
Yeah, which I did not know. I knew they were dubbed the Brat Pack, but I had no idea what the source was, behind it, or what this article supposedly said about it. So this was news to me.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Is that I had no idea until watching this that they had such a problem with being dubbed the Brat Pack, like that it was like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
To them, that you call them the Brat Pack. That was crazy to me.
Yeah, I always kind of looked, as a kid, I always kind of looked at it, they were this generation's Rat Pack, which I didn't know much about them either as a kid, but I knew enough. So I always kind of thought that's what Hollywood was doing. They were, this was going to be their generation's big pack. But yeah, I kind of get it, though. I mean, Emilio seems really sensitive towards it. Like, he does not really want to talk about it. He did talk about it, but he just kind of like, I'd rather leave it in the past. Andrew's like, I don't want to leave it in the past. It's all I got, basically. It's what I felt watching this documentary. Yeah. This is all he has.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, and Andrew has went on to do other things post 80s films. Obviously, like you said, the most notable would probably, or what he'd be the most recognizable for, in my opinion, would be Weekend at Bernie's films. But I think that what's the difference between Andrew McCarthy and Emilio is Emilio said, okay, I was in the Brat Pack. It was in the '80s. I'm now a director. I'm now a writer. I'm now, a producer and stuff like that. He's like moving on in his life,
Yeah.
and arguably, I would say the biggest person to pop up in this movie, in my opinion, would be Emilio and then Demi. I think that they were Demi is a A-lister. I think, I would say Emilio is not really mentioned in A-list, but I think he is A-list. In my
Yeah.
opinion, just in my opinion.
I mean, during that time, I would have said it would have been Emilio, Demi. I probably would have went, even though she's not in it at all. Molly Ringwald, because she was all over the '80s. I mean,
I wonder
she's.
why Molly didn't return or didn't show up to do this.
I think like kind of like Judd Nelson, she just doesn't want to discuss it. But I did like how they did end it with Judd calling him, and then
Yeah.
kind of the theme from Breakfast Club. So that was at least nice. But yeah, they had it kind of. I feel it. They feel it ruined their careers. You know, being dubbed the Brat Pack. Some of them,
Uh,
like Andrew, maybe Judd Nelson, maybe Molly, it hurt their careers. Emilio
yeah.
bounced back, no problem. I mean, he had star power, so Demi didn't need it. I feel like Rob kind of got lost, but he bounced back with West Wing and Parks and
In the
Rec.
office, the Parks
The
and Rec.
Office.
Yeah, the Parks and Rec is what I meant. Yeah. And I want to say this, Rob Lowe. I'm going to say this. Rob Lowe seems like the nicest guy. He's like
Yeah,
he has such like fun energy. He was like, yeah, man, that's cool. I love it. It's great. It's like everything's fine. He's
yeah,
like, and Andrew, it was such. It's like if somebody says something bad to you and it sticks with you, but then that person said it, wasn't even thinking about it, and then years later they come back to you and you say, "What do you mean by what you said that day?" And he's like, "Well, what are you talking about?" You know, uh, but it stuck with you. It hit you different because it stuck with you.
yeah,
That's what the Brat Pack was to Andrew McCarthy. I feel like it was like uh, something that he was branded as, and he never would allow it to shake. It's not that he couldn't shake it; he never allowed himself to shake from it. Even though there's generations of kids that have no idea who the Brat Pack, Rat Pack, or anyone is. You know,
hmm that's
um,
true. That is true. They don't. This generation probably has no idea who they are. Uh, but it's like who's Andrew McCarthy? I mean, I can see it because obviously I know who he is. I remember St. Elmo's Fire. I watched The Class a few years ago. I liked him in that. But like I said earlier, it's for me it's Weekend at Bernie's, which has nothing to do with the Brat Pack. So
they mentioned
you
James
know,
Spader as well, right? Um, is that his name? James Spader? James Spade? James Spader? I don't
yeah,
know his name.
James Spader.
But Robert California is where I know him as. I've never seen Blacklist or whatever that show is that he was in.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, I don't know. Like for me, I feel like the Brat Pack. Like yes, it was a group of actors that were famous, but I would argue and say that also you had other group of actors that was just as like known. Like you had the Coreys at the time that was
hmm
big. You had like I would say like the Goonies crew is for me like what stuck with me more than like say the Brat Pack crew it did. Although I did like John Hughes movies, but the kids that was in the Goonies went on to being stuff that I really like. I really look forward to seeing them. And then like with the Coreys, um, I was a big fan of Feldman and Haynes, and so whenever I seen them in anything, I was like excited to see them.
yeah,
But I can't say the same thing. I can say the same thing about Molly Ringwald. Like I love seeing her and stuff. Anthony Michael Hall, which I'm surprised, like you said, he wasn't in this because when he popped up, I was like, all right, I'm here for this. I'm here to see this. Anthony Michael Hall's in this, and so I can't really say the same for the rest of the Brat Pack, honestly. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, we mentioned Judd Nelson, but really, truthfully, I mean, I know he did say Elmo's Fire. He did The Breakfast Club.
He did.
Can't say another movie.
He's in New Jack City in the '90s. Yeah. He's a cop.
See, I can't tell you another movie he did in the '80s though, besides those two. I remember him in those movies, but I honestly cannot tell you another movie he did in the '80s.
Was he in Deep Cover? I don't know if that's the '80s. It's probably '90s. I think he had a resurgence in the '90s, but still, I don't think that he ever reached the same height that he did in the '80s. Yeah. And I would say something for Rob Lowe. You know, a lot of if it wasn't for like, I'd say Chris Farley, having him in, was it Tommy Boy?
Yeah.
It kind of revitalized him a bit, and then like later on, he got revitalized with Parks and Rec. But that's just what I think. But also like you said, I haven't paid attention to his career enough to know what else he's done. Not to say he's not a great actor. I just haven't been paying attention to his career.
I think most of them. I don't want to say they got blacklisted like the two Coreys did, but I think Hollywood just spat them out, And it happens all the time, and it's not just young actors. It's Hollywood just gets, if you're not drawing money for them, they stop working with you in the mainstream, and you have to go do independent films or really low budget made for TV movies. I think that's where most of them ended up doing. But one thing though, while watching this, they were showing Michael J. Fox, Leah Thompson from Back to the Future.
Yeah, Leah popped up. Leah popped up. Yeah.
I was just surprised that they included Michael J. Fox as possibly being part of the Brat. It just didn't make any sense.
No, Michael J. was just popular, but he was popular on his own.
Yeah,
he's popular apart from the Brat Pack, and which is you won't. I can understand why they would want Michael J.'s energy. If anybody, maybe Jason Bateman, might have been adjacent to them. I don't know, but Michael J. to me was in a league of his own. That's just my honest opinion of Michael J. Fox. I think Michael J. Fox. The closest they had to a Michael J. would have been Emilio, I think, but they didn't have Michael J. wasn't in it, in my opinion.
No, I mean, Emilio. I found it fascinating though that because Andrew was talking about a movie they were supposed to do together, and Emilio was like, "If I don't want to work with him," And I can understand what did I do to him? I can understand, but it had nothing to do with that. And, no communication because people don't communicate. But it was the stigma of the Brat Pack. Is the reason he didn't want to. He even said it. He said, if it had been Judd Nelson, I would have said the same thing. I wanted to distance myself from all that.
And I would say he did. I think he did. I think he did it the best. Distance himself. And then was able to. Like, he was smart. Emilio's smart because he transitioned from just acting to say, well, I have a vision. I can write. I can direct. And so I would say that he's a really good director. Vintage Point, I think, is what it was called. Was a great movie. I think that he directed that one. I know he directed. The Bobby Kennedy movie.
I haven't seen that one.
The one that, it was really good, man. He did a good job with that. I don't think that he gets enough love, and he might have even directed maybe Young Guns too. I'm not sure.
I don't think so, but One of my favorite movies of his is a movie he did direct, and it's The War at Home with Martin Sheen, Kathy Bates, and him. He comes home from war. He's messed up. It was just such a powerful and emotional movie. Like, it just deals with the after effects of war. It deals with family drama. It just, I remember watching it back in the day in the late '90s, and man, because he got this movie done because he agreed to do Mighty Ducks 3, but he wanted a limited role so he could focus on this. So that's how he got the movie made. But it was just such a powerful, raw performance. It's like his best performance I've ever seen.
That's it.
We should pick it sometime on the podcast.
Yeah, man. It's up to you. One thing that they talk about. Like I said, Leah Thompson popped up, and she said that she was a Rat Pack adjacent, I guess, but she wasn't a part of the Rat Pack. But I feel like, I think Leah became more famous not because of the movies that she did with the Brat Pack people, but that she was in Back to the Future. And like, when you think of Leah Thompson, you immediately think of Marty's brother in Back to the Future. That's who I think of every time I see her. I immediately think Back to the Future.
Well, he disappeared on me. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. As Lorraine, that's who you're reminded of when you think of Leah. I always think of also Howard the Duck. I love that movie. So I don't know. Aaron disappeared. See if he's writing me. But yeah, I mean, it was one thing, but I don't know. It was just weird seeing her on here. I never would have ever thought that she would have been part of it, but she was in it. John Cryer was in it too, and I had never seen Pretty in Pink, so I didn't even know he was in a John Hughes film. So I'm just trying to see if he's coming back. But yeah, I don't know. I feel that one of the main issues I have with this though is Andrew McCarthy is just. I feel like he's just complaining the entire time. Like, I feel like you should be more appreciative that you were even famous. You had your moment. Not everybody's going to have a long career where you're always on top. So I feel like he should have appreciated the time he had on top. And he really just seemed to complain throughout the whole thing. Like, he couldn't get over being labeled the Brat Pack. He felt that it damaged his career. But other people were successful after this came out. So I don't really understand. But I don't know. I don't know if Aaron's coming back or not. He's kind of controlling this, so I don't know. And but I don't know. But we like I said, we don't get to hear from Judd Nelson. We don't get to hear from Molly Ringwald. Anthony Michael Hall is not mentioned at all. There's little clips of him, but he's not really mentioned. Ali Sheedy's she's in it a lot, actually. And I never really looked at her as part of it, even though she is. I just never seen her as Brat Pack, but I don't know. It just seems like he had a really hard time with it. And I don't know. Still nothing from Aaron, so. But I guess this be a really short episode. I really can't think of anything else to really say other than Andrew McCarthy is just complaining pretty much the entire 93-minute runtime. And how it's affected his life in a negative way. I will say this though: they do bring in somebody that they called, or he calls, the Godfather of the Brat Pack, which is Timothy Hutton. They did a movie together in the early '80s before the Brat Pack. They just kind of labeled him the Godfather of it all. But it just seemed awkward when he was being interviewed. Like it was like catching up with an old friend, but he didn't really feel like he should be part of it. But yeah. But Aaron just told me his phone overheated, so I guess I'm gonna close this out. I'm gonna give my score. I'm gonna see what his is, and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 on the Markout meter. I felt it was fascinating to. I think he's coming back. He's coming back. Okay. I was just about to give him my score because, you know.
All right, give me a moment. All right. Oh, shoot.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Setting audio. Can you hear me at all?
I hear you. For everybody wondering what's going on, Aaron's phone overheated.
Okay. Give me a moment. I'm sorry.
Okay, you went
You gotta
silent on
play
me.
something, Brandon.
What's that?
All right.
There's Bart.
My score.
Your score, yes.
Oh,
I
well,
gave it a 3 out of 5.
I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5 because of the issue I just had. It has nothing to do with the movie. But it's because I had an error in this. But yeah, 2.5 out of 5. No, the reason why is there's some parts in it where Andrew didn't do a good job with the audio portions of like interviews with people. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of room noise. Maybe he did it all on his own, which
I'd
is
say
still
so.
commendable, huh?
I say he did.
Yeah.
Which it's from what I read online, it's actually getting a sequel to one of the Brat Pack movies. They're in
wow.
talks to do Saint Elmo's Fire 2 with the original cast all returning. So it paid off, I guess.
If that's what he's
for
going
Andrew. I
for.
mean, he wants to be in the limelight again, so it's paying off, I guess.
What I was gonna ask you before we close, glad thank you for keeping it going, Brandon. I'm sorry that I dropped out because my phone overheated and because I was shooting outside. So this is no longer being recorded. So this would be a bust. It's fine. It's still live though, so y'all get to see it. I thank you for listening and watching. But I was gonna say, I would say that there's more famous people that was kind of grouped together that always work together. Like I don't know if you would call, I would call Clooney and them people the new Rat Pack, the new Rat Pack, specifically Rat Pack, meaning Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Julia Roberts is in that, you know, group.
Andy Garcia.
Andy Garcia is in that group. Yeah, I think that that's another group of people that I think that is more of a more famous than the Brat Pack, but you know, but and it's a really good group of actors. And then like you had what they call the Frat Pack, which is people that worked with Judd Apatow. You know, like what is it? Seth Rogen, all them.
James Franco,
Yeah,
Paul Rudd did a
Paul
couple.
Rudd, Jack Black. He's in that little group.
Leslie Mann, like she
Yeah,
does everything he does. So
yeah, she does, don't she?
yeah, I mean that's
But
how she stays relevant in comedy. Not that I think
yeah,
she's funny, but she does stay relevant in comedy. I always
yeah,
remember her first from Big Daddy though. It's Jon Stewart's like wife. I think they're
yeah,
married, isn't it?
yeah. I think so. Yeah, I really like. There's other groups that I think that is. Well, my point, yeah, is there's other groups I think that. Hush, Lizzie. There's more groups out there that has a little bit more fame. But um, yeah, I give it two and a half out of five.
I get it. I just liked my main issue was just him complaining for 93 minutes, but I like seeing everybody that did pop up, especially Emilio, Rob Lowe. Rob, as you said, Rob was he just seems comes off like the nicest guy. And he did say something that I never really paid attention to. That was the time where more young actors were starting to get lead roles in summer films, and I was like, he's right. The 80s was that era that changed the landscape of summer films, and
And
teenagers could star in movies.
marketing towards teenagers and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, he mentioned that if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be like other little shows or movies and stuff like that that has teen audiences.
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And he said it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but we're kind of responsible for it.
Yeah. Um, I I will say that with Andrew, they looked at the Brat Pack as like a PTSD type of feeling, and it kind of makes them come off a little bit more self absorbed. In the sense of like there's people that have real world issues and real life issues out in the world, and you kind of complaining about uh
It definitely
you
makes
know
him come off like that.
yeah. Yeah, and like, oh, I want to break. Now, it'd been cool to be more of a nostalgic look back at the Brat Pack and people,
That's
it.
that's what I thought it was going to be, and
But it was more
it
like
wasn't.
a, how dare them make label us the Brat Pack,
Yeah,
which like what I would love to see, just springboarding into this. I'd love to see a biopic about John Hughes and seeing
yeah,
like him coming up with these movies and stuff like that. I think that'd be kind of cool because like you can't, although they mentioned John Hughes, arguably John Hughes, if it wasn't for John Hughes, a lot of them where who wouldn't be who they are, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, because John casted them, and then like Emilio said it himself, he says John was a director that literally came to you and said, what do you think about this, what do you want to do, and just kind of made him think, oh, like he said, a director never asked me what I think about anything or what. So that kind of, and I bet you that kind of shaped who Emilio became as a director as well, like the model John Hughes a bit. But I think John Hughes is uh, one of the greatest American film directors of all time. But there's a generation of kids that never seen Breakfast Club or Weird Science or any of those
Yeah,
films. But
yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I did like what Andrew said though. When they got labeled as the Brat Pack, they were never going to get work with people like Spielberg or Scorsese. And I like what Emilio said. You're not wrong. Just, but it's like it's not even the way he said it to me. It was like, but that's not even relevant. I just felt like, as you said, Andrew just came off self-absorbed.
mhm.
Like this was more about him than it was about the Brat Pack. in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
agree.
which I did not like. Like I could have done with. I wish someone else would have had come up with the idea. Let's do a documentary about the Brat Pack in the '80s. I feel it would have been a completely different story. It would have. You would have probably seen some of this. How someone feel that it damaged their career,
And
but
that's probably
you would
why.
have good stories.
And I bet you that's probably why people like Molly Ringwald, didn't come to do anything, because it's probably because Andrew asked. Even though Emilio said, "I'm doing this because you asked me," you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like Molly would have probably done it if someone else would have asked her, because she's open to it, because obviously she did Not Another Teen Movie, and that which wasn't making fun of teen film, especially the John Hughes stuff, but it was showing homage to them, and they cast her in the movie, and she was like, she was like commenting on like stupid teenagers. She said effing teenagers, I think, but it's just
Yeah.
like just the notion that um that these people can make that generational transition from teenagers, being the stupid teenagers, to being the adults looking back at the other teenagers like, you idiots, and so no, but my point is that she clearly is open to doing things Brat Pack oriented or John Hughes oriented. um oh, this dog is throwing up. Okay, so with that being said, that was a noise you don't want to hear, Brandon.
Oh, I hear it a few
You heard it.
times. Yeah, this little cat over here throws up quite a bit. Well,
Yeah.
not quite a bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, all right. With that being said, next week is Shark Week.
It
Brandon's
is.
already started Shark Week.
I have nothing good though, but I have started it.
And we're gonna be doing Under Paris.
Under Paris.
Yep.
This was not my pick. I mean, it technically is my pick because I do Shark Week picks, but Aaron suggested this pick, so I feel honored that you suggested something. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel you're committed to Shark Week.
Yeah,
It makes me
I am.
happy.
I'm committed to it. So we're gonna be watching Under Paris. In the meantime, and in between time, what do we want the people to do?
If you like this episode and you want to see more, click that like, click that subscribe, comment, and share the Markout Movie Podcast. Follow us on Facebook.
Once again, sorry for the technical difficulties in this episode. I was shooting outside, the phone got hot and said nope and shut down. And then Brandon kept it going though. I appreciate Brandon filling the air. I don't know if he panicked a bit.
I had a panic attack. I don't like being alone on the air.
But you
It's
did
very
it.
noticeable when it happens too. It's like I'm a deer in headlights.
Yeah, it's hilarious. All right. Well, we thank you for paying attention. Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey.
Thank you for marking out with us here on the Markout Movie Podcast. Stay blessed.